Hello, this week is week 3 of ED 645, and this week we looked at disciplinary literacy and how to write rubrics for disciplinary literacy activities. However, this week I had my second observation in class, and I had several things that happened during class during the 2 days that I was there this week, and I decided that I wanted to reflect this week on that rather than our specific assignments for class. In regards to my observation, when I was planning the lesson for this week, I knew that I needed to figure out how to combine the lesson plan that my mentor teacher had already created with some things that I wanted to do so that when Anne came to observe me in class, she would be able to see a lesson that had my thumbprint on it, basically. A lesson that had activities in it that I would plan if creating my own lesson. But the lesson that we did this week was a macromolecule lab where students were doing an experiment to determine whether or not there were certain macromolecules in substances that they were testing. This is a really fun activity to do with intro bio, 9th grade bio classes because they like to see the color change. It's a very exciting thing to have a clear, almost no color liquid turn cloudy and yellow and orange like it does with a glucose test. So it was something that I knew the kids, once they got a chance to start doing the lab, they would be really interested in. But I didn't want them to do a lab and not have any context for why they would be doing it. In this 9th grade bio class, my mentor teacher started this routine of doing a drill at the beginning of every class. It gets their brain starting to work, it gets that prior knowledge activated, and it gets them kind of focused and into what we're doing for the day. Sometimes it introduces new concepts, other times we reflect on concepts that we had done in a previous class. For this class, I decided what might be interesting is to use a drill that focuses on nutrition labels. And so have the students see a label and read it and try to get information from it using reading skills, reading comprehension, as well as math skills, because they were going to have to look at number of calories and number of grams and serving sizes to answer some of the questions. And what this also did was it allowed them to start creating an idea of this is something that we do in real life. These nutrient labels, we look at them to see how healthy food is for us and to see how much of it we should eat. And then between doing the drill and the lab, I tried to connect it with the students and say, how do we know what is on these nutrition labels? And we had a discussion as a class, which was relatively successful. The students weren't sure exactly how we would go from not knowing what is in a substance to having these specific numbers, but at least it got them thinking. And one of the things that I really tried in this lab is to over and over again, in this lesson, was to over and over again reinforce why we're doing this in the real world. Why is it important to know how to do these chemical reactions? Why do we need to know if certain things are in certain substances? So that was one of the things that Anne and I talked about afterwards when she was going over the observation with me, is that she really liked the way that I included that, and she felt like it gave the students the overall general big picture concept, that context for why we were learning what we were learning. And so that's something that I have been really striving to do in my lessons, and I'm really glad that it came out. Another thing that Anne said when she was talking to me about my observation is that it's clear that I'm more comfortable in the classroom now. This is something that I've noticed personally. After having a lot of experience now going in multiple times a week, getting to know these students, I know how they work now and what motivation works and what doesn't, and how to tell if there is going to be an off day. And so I'm really glad that that's coming out in my teaching, that it seems like I'm comfortable with the students because I'm feeling much more comfortable with them. And I've had several instances this week where it has really shown that this rapport that I was seeing with my mentor teacher and my students is kind of rubbing off on me, and I'm developing a good relationship with my students as well. In the senior class that I'm working with, I had students before they left tell me good luck on my observation because they knew that it was coming up. In the freshman class that I had a discussion with them at the end of the day on Thursday about their classes and talking about what they were having trouble with and what they weren't, and they had told me that they really liked the class that they were in, the class that is being taught by myself and my mentor teacher, because they feel like they get their questions answered. And one of the things that they were saying was a big struggle for them was that the students would be confused about something or have questions, and other teachers would penalize them for not knowing the answer but wouldn't really help them out, and they felt like they couldn't even ask questions in some of them. And they were saying to me that they really appreciated the fact that I took the time to go through and make sure that they understood things. And that meant a whole lot to me, and it really gave me a good idea of where they are at with their learning styles and their process and what they need. And I think those conversations are so necessary. I've noticed that there is a tendency to just assume that students don't want to do their work or that they're lazy. There are a lot of teachers, particularly teachers that have been around for a while, that can get jaded, and I definitely had teachers like that in high school. They always assumed the worst of you. They always assumed that you just didn't want to do your work, and sometimes it's just that students are confused or they don't understand or they're uncomfortable asking questions. And so one of the things that I've been trying to add into my teaching is taking the time to be aware of where my students are, walk around the classroom, notice when work isn't getting done. I've been trying to go around and kind of check up and say, how are things going today? I noticed you are not doing your work. What's going on? And some students, sure, they don't want to do their work. They don't want to be there some days or most days, but a lot of times the students are just getting frustrated and they need a little bit of an extra push. And so it's been good to see that the things that I'm putting into place, the ways that I'm developing this relationship with students and trying to help them succeed, that it's something that they're responding to as well, and they're noticing it as something that I'm doing. So basically what I'm saying is that this was a very encouraging week. I continue to be excited about things that I am learning through both the class and through the internship, and I am looking forward to week 4.